Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to review A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. This is an historical fiction novel about Count Alexander Rostov. I might be butchering the last name, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it. So I'm sorry about that. Just to give you some context on the plot, Count Alexander is placed under house arrest at the Hotel Metropole in Moscow by the Bolsheviks. This is after the Russian Revolution of 1922, and the Bolsheviks believe that Alexander is against their government and ideals, which he is, but he never actually said it. But they consider him a person of interest, meaning he has a lot of contacts and he has a lot of knowledge about certain things that might be useful. So they decided to keep him alive, but he is forced to stay at the Hotel Metropole where he was living prior to this event, and he can't leave the hotel because if he tries, he's gonna get killed. So this is a book about a man who has to change his entire life in order not to go insane. A lot like what we're doing now. This is actually, I didn't think about filming this video today because of it, but it just happened. The new situation with coronavirus is getting out of hand. It is already like no one has this under control. We are all very concerned. I'm living in a state of anxiety. It's just I actually have to force myself to change the channels because otherwise I'm just going to watch the news the entire day and get more and more anxious about it. But we, a lot like Alexander, had to change our entire lives. I'm a teacher and schools in Portugal closed, so now I'm teaching at home. We're using online platforms and we are doing online classes till the end of term. We still have a week left, so today's Friday. Next week is the last week of term, and it was a challenge, and it still is, but now I feel a little bit more relaxed because, I had a week to adapt. Monday and Tuesday was a little bit nerve-wracking, but now I feel like, I got the hang of it, and now I have a rhythm, and I organize my schedule, and I'm feeling a lot better about it. Nevertheless, I'm not forced to stay home. I can still leave the house. I can go to the supermarket. I can go for a walk, but I don't. I just decided that I'm not leaving the house unless I have to. If I have to go to the supermarket or if I have to take the trash out, otherwise I'm not leaving the house. I'm using the balcony a lot more now because, if you want to get some fresh air, that's the best spot. But other than that, I'm staying at home. I'm the type of person that loves to stay home. Even though I have that type of personality, this is nerve-wracking because now I'm scared that something might happen if you leave the house. My mom doesn't leave the house either, and my grandmother and my sister, and we're just, everybody I know from work is not leaving the house either. And this took over our lives, and we saw it coming, but at the same time I think we lived in denial for a little bit, and at the same time we didn't see it coming. And that's pretty much obviously a different situation, but that's pretty much the plot of this book. Having to adapt to a new reality of having to live inside the four walls of a hotel, much like we're doing now to a different extent. This book might seem simple to you, but it really isn't. You grow with this character, you develop with this character. He's 30 years old when he's placed under house arrest, and then he's 40, and then he's 50, and then he's 60, and then he's 69 years old, and you just develop this sort of connection as if he was your grandfather, your dad, or your uncle, your godfather. You don't want anything bad to happen to this guy. He tells you his flaws, and he tells you the things he did wrong in the past when he was young and stupid. And you accept him, you recognize him, but you accept him, and you give him a chance to redeem himself. It is quite a journey. I felt overwhelmed emotionally after reading certain passages. And it was just a perfect read. It was quite a ride. And I actually got myself into a reading slump afterwards because I just didn't know what to read after this. This was just so perfect. I mean, what can I read that's going to make me feel the same way? It's difficult to choose a book after reading something that, to me, it was just so perfect. Because you sort of want to read something that's going to make you feel the same thing. But that's not what books are supposed to do. You're not supposed to feel the same thing all the time. And I think I just need to get myself a new book and start over. If you watch my current reads video, you know that I'm reading like 4 books at the same time, and that's not me. But I'm not feeling satisfied. I need to find a book that is going to just make me feel the same way. But at the same time, I have to admit that that's not easy, and it might never happen. Even if I read a book that is just perfect like this one, I'm not going to feel the same thing. And sometimes that's difficult to accept. Something that I really loved about this book is the commentary. So this is about a very controversial time period in Russia, because it's about post-revolution society. I know like 10 people that should read this book. Every time someone talks about the Russian Revolution and the Bolsheviks, they talk about it as, they're celebrating them and celebrating their ideals. And they basically say that they didn't do anything wrong and everything that came out of the revolution was perfect and positive. And that's not true. That's not true at all. I'm not getting political on my channel, and I'm not going to answer any comments about, you're wrong and the revolution was amazing. I'm not going to answer, because I think that people have the right to have different opinions and different political views. But this book is just so brutally honest about everything that was wrong with that revolution. A lot of things that came out of it were good and positive, and a lot of them were negative, and they really affected society at the time. If you are someone who enjoyed having history classes at school, you are going to love this book because it is packed with historical context. It just gives you facts after facts after facts. The commentary is really raw and transparent, and at the same time, the author uses sarcasm a lot, and it just made me laugh so much at times. But at the end of the day, I learned a lot from this book. It is, on the other hand, quite dense. It took me over a month and a half to read it, because of the historical information. It's just a lot. You're just reading pages and pages and pages of historical information. And even though I really loved it and I learned a lot, I have to admit that at times it was a little bit too much, and I had to put it down and, let it sink in and then go on. Obviously, if you are someone who doesn't really like history, then I wouldn't recommend it to you, because this is going to be really dense and just slow pace at times. But when you get invested in the characters, especially the Count, you don't want it to end, and you want to make sure that he's safe, and you're actually scared to read what's coming because you never know if something's going to happen to him. You learn to love this character. Something that I also really enjoy is that this book is not extremist. This book is not a book that is criticizing the revolution and everybody who believed in the revolution as portraying them as being evil. And I really like that, because we can have different political views, but it doesn't mean that I'm right or you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong. It doesn't mean that you're good and I'm evil just because I believe in different things. It really depends on, to what extent you take them. And this book has a lot of amazing examples of characters just forgetting about their differences and coming together towards the common good. And that was just really nice to see. Just to give you an example, this is not a spoiler. Alexander has a friend, a really good friend. They've been friends forever. They're like brothers, and they always had different political views. Mishka is actually working with the government now, and he believes in the revolution with all his heart. He's editing at some point. He's editing the letters written by Anton Chekhov, and he's asked to remove one of the sentences from one of the letters because Chekhov says that German bread is the best bread in the world. He's in Germany and he tried bread and he said that this is the best bread, and people in Russia don't know because they don't travel that often. And he was asked to remove that because we can't have people reading things like this. We can't have people reading that German bread is better than Russian bread. And even though Mishka is 100% into the revolution and the revolution's ideals, and he is just he just gave his heart and soul to the new government, he can help but protest, and he goes against what he was asked to do. And this just shows you that people don't have to be extremists just because you agree with something and you follow this party. Let's talk about, in political terms, you follow a political party. It doesn't mean that you have to believe and agree with everything they say. You can have different opinions within the same group, if that makes sense. And what I really liked about this book is that it gives characters a chance to change their opinions and change their ideals. And even the Count, someone who doesn't agree with most of what the revolution brought to Russia, he is still able to see things from a different perspective. And that is something that I really enjoy, because that's what we do, or that's what we should do as human beings. We should be able to take in information and then form our own opinion, based on facts and not just because we're following a group. That was one of my favorite things for sure. But I do want to talk about something just for you to get an idea of this guy, of Alexander. And this is a spoiler, so if you don't want to listen to this part, just move on. But Alexander, he tries to make the best of having to stay at the hotel, but reality hits him eventually, and he actually becomes suicidal at some point. And before, because he has everything planned, he's a very organized person, so he actually planned his suicide perfectly. And before he was supposed to do it, he went to the bar and he overheard a British and a German discussing Russia and how Russia had zero impact in the Western world, other than the creation of vodka. And the German actually dares people to give him 3 examples on Russia's contributions, and the Count accepts the challenge and he actually gives 3 good examples. He talks about caviar and he talks about music, and he mentions Tchaikovsky, and I was really happy because Tchaikovsky is my favorite composer. And he also talks about literature. He talks about Chekhov and Tolstoy. We're talking about a person who is planning, or actually planned and was on his way to commit suicide. And we're talking about a person who had every right to hate his country, because his country just completely exiled him for no good reason. And they didn't exile him like send you to a different country, because that would mean that you have a second chance and you can just start over there. No, they exiled you there. The country exiled him there in Russia. He was forced to stay there, but he was exiled anyway. And he still felt the need to defend his nation because he loves Russia, regardless of what the new government is doing to him, and regardless what the new government is doing to the people. He still felt the need to defend his country, his nation, his identity. And it was just, it broke my heart, and at the same time it really warmed my heart, and I had like a mix of emotions, and I was just all over the place. You can actually see that in my vlog. I have to stop reading at some point. I was like, I can't. I have to digest this, because how many people would do that? How many people would be able to put aside their differences, their personal differences with their own country, and defend it? Because I think that we are always eager to criticize everything and never think about the good. And that's what I really love about this book. It shows you the bad side, but it also gives you the good side of history. And I don't know, it's just amazing. It was really, really good. Um, I don't want to start rambling, because I think that I will if I continue with this review. I recommend this book 100%. Again, be careful with the historical information, because it is a lot, so be prepared for that. If you're someone who doesn't like it, be prepared for that. But I do recommend this book. I think it is an amazing, amazing story. The character development is just amazing, and I'm actually sad that I don't get to spend more time with Alexander. um, I don't know. The feeling that I'm having right now towards this book, it's the same feeling that I had when I read The Grapes of Wrath, and I just instantly fell in love with John Steinbeck's writing. Same thing here, I'm definitely going to read Rules of Civility, but I know that I won't be able to find a book that's going to make me feel the same way. And I'm gonna stop rambling now, because I don't want to, be one of those people that just don't have anything to say, but they keep on talking. You may expect, hopefully, a vlog next week, as well as a recommendations video. But until then, stay safe. If you can work from home, work from home. Just leave the house if you really have to. If you have to go to work, please stay safe. Follow the guidelines, and just do your best to stay safe and protect yourself and your loved ones. If you are going through this directly, if you're dealing with this disease directly, thoughts and prayers towards you. And I really hope that nothing happens, and we are going to get through this. Just have faith, and we are going to try to be okay. But there's not much I can say about this now that's going to give you any comfort. Just wanted to say that, we're all here, and we're all going through the same, and we're all supporting each other. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.